Alright, one major factor, and everybody knows this, about poverty and the mental illness, because mental illness leads to poverty or results from poverty, and keeps people in poverty. Because one of the biggest things in mental illness, the core malfunction, is malfunction in perception, which I've said before. The malfunction in the perception of your perception, meaning you perceive the reality you're perceiving on a different scale than it actually is happening. So you can perceive something really, really great, even when it's just like, okay, awesome. But you can perceive it as like on the top of the world, or you can perceive something as really, really bad when it's just something normal that everybody deals with. And people get sick of dealing with this. And if you have mental illness, it's a constant up and down, and it eventually can lead to people stop trying. And because poverty and mental illness, for the most part, is not really something that most people talk about. Poverty, there's no money in talking about it. That capitalism is great because it's moved our society so it's advanced our species so much, but it's also it's created these little pockets of areas where it's just kind of glossed over, no one pays attention to, because there's no money there. There's no money in talking about poverty. So I'm doing my part to talk about poverty and talk about mental illness, because it needs to be talked about more. People need to be aware of it more, and it needs to be taken into account, because what's eventually going to happen is it's going to drag, and it already is starting to drag, our civilization down. And as an advance in civilization, we need to not be dragged down. We need to overcome stuff, and poverty and mental illness is two big things that need to be overcome and taken into account, so we can all have a better human experience. So I'm talking about this stuff, so like and subscribe to hear more. But that is the main thing, is about poverty and mental illness combined, is unfortunately people get sick of dealing with the ups and downs, and they stop trying because they don't want to put up with the ups, because they don't want to deal with the downs anymore. And that's just how it is, and it's very unfortunate to see that happen. And it needs to be taken into account. And the rich people like Elon Musk and like Jeff Bezos and all those people need to contribute more, because what's the point of being rich, and what's the point of creating all you're creating, and what's the point of building the future if a major portion of civilization can potentially destroy the entire civilization if it gets too overwhelming to the growth of civilization? What's the point? So that needs to be taken into account, and balanced. And all these wealthy and rich guys have the means to do that. So they should contribute more for the betterment, and not this for resource allocation, which is what a lot of nonprofits are just like for resource allocation and for people to look like they're doing something.